Hey, everybody.
Hello.
How are we doing?
Good. Hi, Jacob.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. How's everybody doing?
Fine.
Good.
Great to see you all. Okay, got some more folks coming. How's everyone's week been so far? Making it through the cold, the snow?
Actually, we didn't get any snow up here.
Grandmother,
Really?
for the second time after 2.5 nights of her laboring, she finally let that baby out.
Well, congratulations. That's awesome, Mama Jean.
Now everybody,
Yay.
even me. Yeah, it's pretty. I feel so good.
That's awesome to hear.
2
And you said-
boys too.
2 boys. Wow.
That's good. Get more work done around here that way.
There you go.
And the sun is shining, guys, for the moment in Seattle.
Yeah, it's beautiful here briefly as well.
Cold though.
Yeah, most definitely. So I guess we'll give it a few more minutes and see if anybody else is going to end up making it, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Mhm. Really?
So I'll put the topics up that were from the previous meeting, because I think that's how we'll start off this meeting. So yeah, feel free to look this over and start formulating some any ideas or experiences that you've had in the last month that would kind of speak to these topics.
You know, my chapter's been absolutely against doing robocalls. And
Yeah.
you know, I wish there was a way that we could convince them to at least give it a try. Claire, you think that's possible?
I've tried like you and feel like a voice in the wilderness on that topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's hard not only to, implement it in your chapter, but then to actually get people to buy into it. Because if people aren't going to buy into it, it's not going to work, I guess.
Well, it sounds like other people's or other chapters' experiences with it has been pretty good.
Yeah, there are some chapters that consistently use it and have had good results.
Chapter 21's had pretty good success with it.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, chapter 21 and chapter 35, I think they meet virtually, and they've been doing that for a while.
Now, my chapter 20, when I first brought up doing robocall back in, I think it was pre-COVID, so 17, 18, and they gave me or appointed me the membership chair for the chapter. They go, okay, here's your 40,000 pound list to call everybody once a month. And I'm thinking, well, that's not happen. And so I did my research, and the council office had mentioned the wizard phone. So I did a lot of research, talked to Jack English many times, and I did up like a little PowerPoint. When I first brought it up to the chapter, they were the same way. No, never going to happen. So I finally got them to agree to a test run. And after I showed them a little bit of a PowerPoint program on it and how easy it was, and it took about a year, but our attendance went up, and people now, if I happen to forget one, they're like, what happened to our robocall? So, I mean, it took a while. I was able to convince them to, this was the way, and they like the fact that you can just call a number and get it repeated, the message repeated, no charge. And yeah, so I fortunately with my chapter have had good luck with it. It was a little rough in the beginning, but they finally saw that it was bringing more people, this, again, pre-COVID, to our meetings. And we had a meeting on Tuesday and I did robocall on Monday and it brought more people than we normally get.
Wow.
Of
Awesome.
course, we bought dessert for Monday, so that probably helped, but yeah, but it reminds people because I always do it the day before the meeting, even though the newsletter they've already had for a week or two and a lot of people normal forget. So,
Yeah, I
That's a
send
great
out
point.
an email blast the weekend before our meeting. Our meeting's on a Tuesday. And,
We
that-
use that too.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I'll
and I
just
think,
keep trying.
yeah, absolutely. I know, some chapters do both the email blast and the robocall on top of the newsletter. It's just about what your members are receptive to, what you can get them to be receptive to, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, I guess we'll probably go ahead and get started if that's all right with everybody else. Oh,
You can't hear me.
oh, you're very quiet, Alma Jean.
I'm very quiet. That's not
Yes.
me.
No, that's why I wasn't sure who I was hearing.
We should publicize some of the stories of success.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's going to be a part of this discussion, actually. So let me pull that up again here. Okay, so we're going to briefly talk about just some of the stuff from the last session, and then we'll get into new topics, which will include, talking about challenges and successes that chapters have experienced, member participation, things like that. So it's going to be more so a dialogue type leadership call today. I want to hear how things have been going for you guys and how we can reflect on that information to, make better decisions moving forward. So based on these topics from January, I know that we just started having the discussion about the robocalls and Zoom. Did anybody else have any sort of input regarding using these tools? What sort of challenges you faced, or how much of a difference it's made in your meetings?
We don't have the capacity, or we don't have a technical person that's willing to come in early to set up for hybrid meetings.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if others are having any kind of success or are doing hybrids.
Just a comment about it. Our president, Robin Rigo, does robocalls for other, or not robocalls, has tried to do hybrid meetings in other situations. And he says, very, very difficult to manage. You have to, participants who participate electronically lose, it's easy to lose track of what's going on. I haven't participated in one, to be honest with you, but I'm just going by what he's saying, is that if there's a participant that's trying to participate in a hybrid meeting from an electronic point of view, it's very hard to keep track of what's going on because you don't hear all the participants unless it gets managed much differently than what he's describing.
Yeah, we tried it and the participants electronically just couldn't hear. So
Yes.
same as what you're saying, Steve.
Very
Now,
good points.
I suppose if you had the right microphone set up and camera setups, it would work. It might work a lot better, but that sounds like a lot of technology to put into a hybrid or into a meeting situation.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point, Steve. Yeah, there is a science to having the right equipment tailored to, the room size, the amount of people that are there, positioning of the mics so it can pick up everybody's voice. And, people have to know like what equipment to even buy in the first place, because you can easily spend the money and get stuff that doesn't really work. So, moving forward, if people are interested in doing hybrid meetings and they need some consultation on equipment to buy, I'd be more than happy to work that out with you. And I know Derek as well has a very long background with technology, and he would be willing to support me in that too. So
Sweet.
Yeah, just let me know. It's something I actually started on for another chapter recently, and narrowed it down to some options. So I can carry on that conversation further with anybody who's wanting to try that.
Well, Derek's already put together a list from at least a year ago that we tried to use, but we just couldn't get a stable enough internet to make it worth trying to go buy equipment and make it work.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a good point. Cheryl, I guess if you have connection issues, then it doesn't necessarily make a difference if you have the
Yeah, it
equipment. Yeah.
Right.
So, these are challenges that, if you do have internet connectivity issues at your current meeting place and you're wanting to implement, technology into your meetings, I guess that's a bigger plan that needs to be put together as far as like, okay, well, do we need a new locale for our meeting? Do we need maybe current equipment? Because I don't know what that list looked like. I'd have to go look at it and see what was on it. But yeah, those are all valid concerns and are going to affect chapters differently. Some chapters have solid internet, some don't have it at all at their meeting place. So
Jacob?
Yeah.
Al, I had heard that chapter 3, Matt and that chapter were trying out a piece of equipment that would cost them $1,000. And he was going to share with us to see if it would be something we could use.
I do.
It's cost, and of course the training, but we're waiting, from what I understand, to get a report from him on what he thinks about the use of that equipment.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, Almagine, because he had mentioned it to me not too long ago that he was looking into getting it for chapter 3's meetings. What it is it's like a surround sound speaker microphone. It's called a meeting owl, but it's got 360 degree of microphone pickup and a 360 degree camera. So the idea is like, that's like the end game for meetings, period. Like, I don't think you could probably find anything better than that unless you get like professional grade equipment.
Well, that is professional grade equipment. Our city council uses that.
Oh, very nice. Okay.
Yeah, and they've got
Yeah.
two owls set up. There's a split screen. You have to have a big screen to go along.
Yeah.
with it. And unless you can find a meeting place with a big screen that you can hook a laptop into, it's tough.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I imagine that, chapters that first of all can afford that, then is it even going to be usable for them? So it's going to be, I guess, very specific. Yeah, so next month I can bring some information to the table from Matt about if they got that and if they've tried it out or not. I'll definitely look into that just so you guys can know what that's like, even if it's not something that interests you as far as your chapters go. Okay. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Almagine.
Mhm.
Any other comments about technology for hybrid meetings, things like that? Okay, we'll go ahead and move forward onto topics to cover for this session. So we're going to start off just by covering a topic and just posing a couple questions about it, and then I'm going to get some feedback from you guys and hopefully generate some discussion with that. So first, chapter challenges and successes, and then we'll go into enticing potential members, and then member engagement, chapter elections, and then Lori's going to chime in for the last few minutes to cover some information about upcoming listening sessions and how our strategic plan is going to move forward with our upcoming survey and poll and listening sessions. So, all right, moving on, chapter challenges and successes. So what challenges are your chapters facing? Any specific that are prominent, lingering?
I think just getting people to attend meetings. I think that's the biggest.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so I'm sure that is a problem for everybody in this session right now. So, continuing from that, what have people tried recently in the past that seem to, address the challenges of getting people to show up to the meetings? Anybody have any suggestions?
Come on, you guys, I need some help.
Well, we seem to get a few more when there's food involved.
You're not wrong, Claire. Yeah,
The
you know,
challenge that chapter 28 is having is how they prepare for their meetings. The inability that I have had with my chapter to encourage them to have board meetings before their regular generalship meeting for the purposes of making sure that they're up to date on the things that they need to get done and who's doing what, so they come into their meetings, the meetings run a little bit more smoothly and we get more accomplished. Folks don't want to give up their time to have another meeting of any kind. My chapter meets infrequently, like every other month. I think because they don't meet as often as other chapters, they lose some continuity in keeping up with what's going on. And the other problem we have is many of them do not have computers, emails, don't seem to even want them. And it's a link to phishing and other issues associated with managing fraud and being fearful of being caught up in it.
yeah, absolutely, Almagene. You know, there is that growing risk of, you know, internet scams, if you will, that especially seniors are becoming extremely wary of because they're some of the biggest targets. So getting people to participate even on a digital level at all is a challenge. Yeah.
I
With
had
that, oh, go ahead.
a conversation with Comcast this past week because of the phishing incidences that I've experienced. And I learned how I can go into my system and click on buttons that pull up who else is receiving my emails. And when I did that, I did see the email address of someone that I have no knowledge of. And it said, forward emails to this email address. But then there's a button that you push that says delete. And you can delete that other email address to getting copies of all of your emails. I was advised by Comcast to do that regularly, like a weekly process. You just do it because they can attach themselves to your account because of what you're doing yourself. I do a lot of searching, and I'm thinking that probably does give access to those who know how to hack into my system. But now I know how to do that. I'd be glad to share it.
Yeah, thank you, Almagene. Yeah, it sounds like something you could do by checking your sent inbox to see if you've had emails forwarded out to email addresses you don't know. I'm assuming that's the process. All right, does anybody else have anything else in terms of, you know, addressing the skepticism that seniors have about, you know, things regarding online scams and the challenges around that? No? Okay, we're gonna move on. Enticing potential members. What strategies have you tried to spark interest in potential members? This can be in the past, this can be recent, just any ideas to spark somebody to make that final decision to, you know, okay, I'm gonna attend the meeting and see what this is about.
With the thing that we do, you know, in sending it, I mean, it's announced in the newsletter who our upcoming speaker is. And then when I send out the reminder the weekend before the meeting, I put in who the speaker is going to be. And, you know, I think in discussions among the folks that do attend meetings, you know, we're trying to figure out the kind of speakers that people want to see, trying to figure out what might draw them in. And so far, you know, we pretty much the executive board and maybe one or two other people.
Yeah, there's some challenges, you know, getting people that are, you know, already in the organization to participate. And I'm not sure what we can do per se to get them to participate. I don't know if there's necessarily anything we can do. All we can do is keep making it accessible for everybody. Make sure that the content is, you know, it's riveting, it's important and relevant to them, and that you know, we're making efforts to communicate and get people together to fight for retirement security. So yeah, as long as we can keep doing that and we work on our recruitment moving forward, this organization will continue to grow. And so with that, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I agree with Debbie. Getting interesting speakers, which can be its own challenge depending on the area you're in. But if we have one speaker we get once a year or so, and he worked in our local newspaper for years, and he's just an amazing individual. If we get him, we get the highest of the year, you know, of attendance, because, but again, the challenges of who do you get, the area you live in, and I see here you have a bullet point on any consistent challenges when recruiting new members.
Yep.
Is you and I were in an email exchange this week with, we have a potential for our chapter, and I called her. One
Yep.
number was already disconnected. And I find that a lot is one,
Yep.
the numbers aren't good, the email returns, you know, and if it's a few months old, I can see that, but the one that you had sent me, I called the next day, one of the numbers had already been disconnected. So I find that challenging when I'm trying to make phone calls, and the amount of members we have that I have no way to contact them.
Yeah.
At all. No number, no email. That seems to be consistent, I know, on my list.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate you sharing your experience in regards to, you know, following up on that potential WFC member joining the organization, because I don't usually hear back about that. And so that brings up a good point, you know, just because we get the information about this retired WFC member, it doesn't mean that it's current, right? Just like our members, their information isn't always current, unfortunately. And so, you know, if we have challenges where we're trying to get a hold of people and we're struggling to get through, especially with like the WFC folks, let me know. There's somebody at WFC I might be able to talk to find other ways to communicate with these folks.
Jacob, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Does DRS do retirement seminars in person anymore?
So I actually just talked to a rep from DRS on Wednesday at a member resource fair for WFC, and she said that they do seminars still. They have online seminars currently. I don't know if they're doing in-person still. I don't believe so. But they have a bunch of web resources too. They have videos on there. I'm actually going to be working with DRS on trying to get somebody to come out and speak at meetings. So that could essentially be like a mobile seminar. I mean, that would be the idea behind that. So that, I think that's a great idea. And we're going to get people to be more interested if we're, you know, assisting them through the retirement process. So,
Comment, Alma Jean.
go ahead, Imogene.
I think you know, Jacob, I'm trying to use chapter newsletter to differentiate it from the council newsletter, so that the chapter newsletter is publishing information about what members are doing, what the members chapter are doing to support the work of RPEC. If they are, or something is going on in their personal lives, like their birthdays, dates of the deaths, individuals who have died, new members, to highlight new members with photos, a little bio of the new member to get information, to restore in the chapter meeting the introduction of new members and allow them a chance to share their skills, gifts, talents, what they bring to the chapter. If I'm looking to fill hard positions like secretaries, treasurers, I'm not going to ask a registered nurse unless they're unique. I'm going to maybe direct them to sit on the health work group to represent the chapter. Or this past month, we had a new member come in by referral from the council office. It turns out he's a UW retiree in the physical plant department, which I've never had much access to that area. He likes the political activities, and he spent a lot of time, he says, in Olympia. He was at Ledge Day. He is a possibility to help stimulate some movement in the chapter representing legislative activities, and perhaps attracting and bringing in people that he knows at the university that are going to retire or have retired. So those are the strategies. I'm trying to personalize it. Yes, we do want the council information from Lori, but we want to also accentuate to make it more personal to the chapter member.
Yeah, absolutely, Alma-Jean. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, Alma-Jean in her newsletters with that she does on behalf of Mary, she likes to include information about, you know, acknowledgement of in honor of those who have passed since the previous newsletter, birthday recognitions and some new member recognitions as well. And so, you know, giving time permitting, I don't want to oversell my time here, but I am willing to do, you know, I'm willing to work with extra material if you guys are wanting to spice up your newsletters. So, you know, things like that can make a difference. You know, if people are actually seeing the newsletters, if there's acknowledgement that they join the organization, you know, new members are going to be more likely to feel like they're already a part of that chapter. So, does anybody have any other comments or questions regarding that? And so, you know, something else that Alma-Jean said too, that's really important is that, you know, identifying people in your chapters, or identifying, you know, when you have new members come on, what their workplace was that they just retired from, what sort of other folks could they get to be interested in membership with RPEC. You know, this goes beyond unions, but WFC is a good example. And, you know, we have to approach people in different ways, right? You know, if we're talking to union people, the way we got to approach them is, you know, your union represented you in employment. Well, RPEC is going to be your union in retirement. We're going to represent you after you retire. And so that's how we have to position ourselves in people's minds, depending on who they are, right? Not everybody's a state employee. Not everybody's a union employee, or was a union member. But that's why we have to go into the setting of the people, you know, go to WFC locals. They're all WFC members. Then we're taught where we can tailor what we have to say to that group of people. And so when you have new members join your chapter, definitely be talking to them about getting in contact with the other coworkers. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next. Member engagement. So, you know, once you get members to actually show up, how do you get them engaged? What seems to work to, you know, capture the attention of your members at chapter meetings and other events?
Well, we had a
Well,
couple of new
chapter
people.
28, those members of my chapter that attended the Ledge Day, we had them address the group as to what they heard, saw, experienced, and what their overall assessment of it was. By doing so, they are contributing something to the meeting rather than always receiving. And it was important to at least one new member because he really wanted to tell you. He wanted everyone to know who he saw, who he thought he, you know, it was really, it built some enthusiasm for perhaps the next time there is a Ledge Day. Maybe we'll have some more people who turn out for it, and he may help us do that. So I think it's really important to do that, to give members attending something to contribute in each meeting and not just sit there and receive stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, Alma-Jean. That's a good point. Debbie, were you going to say something as well?
Well, we had a few new folks go to Ledge Day, but they didn't show up at the next membership meeting. So, you know, yeah, again, struggling as far as how to get people to actually walk through that door.
Yeah,
And as
that's an
far as-
interesting predicament.
Yeah, and you know, as far as new members, I think what I struggle with is, you know, I didn't retire from the state here, so I really don't know. I didn't have any coworkers to reach out to.
Right.
And I know some of our executive board members do. They reach out to folks that they used to work with. So trying to figure out how to access these folks. And now, did I see that you went to a chapter 50 or a local 53 meeting?
Yeah, it was a Zoom meeting on Wednesday.
How did that work out? Was there much interest?
Yeah, no, it went well. And the positive was that 4 people in that meeting were already RPEC members, including the president of that local. She recently became an associate member. So, and that was after she saw the RPEC table being hosted at the WFC policy meeting back in October. She had come over and that's when she signed up. So I think that visibility is sparking a lot of interest. You know, a lot of people are talking to us when we're at these different events, including other organizations. So, yeah, Lori, go ahead.
Didn't plug in my headset yet. I just wanted to share. I think we said this last time around, but you know, Jacob's definitely getting out there. He mentioned a few of the presentations that he has been doing. I also attended the executive board meeting for Council 2, and Council 2, that was a couple weekends ago. And then we've written some content that they're putting on their website. Jacob will be attending their convention in June, and we were able to carve out a workshop for him, and we'll be recruiting members from the Spokane area to work with him on staffing a membership table. So there's a lot of things that we're doing, and sometimes, you know, we're just getting back in the swing of having our membership committee meetings. So for those of you that didn't get a chance to attend the first one, you may not know this, but he's been very much out there. I'm really proud of the work that he's doing, and he brings a lot of fresh ideas. So I can brag on him once in a while.
Thanks,
so
Lori.
brag on him. So we're getting out there again, and we're really fortunate that the world's starting to open up. Although we know we all have to be really careful, we're trying to look for and seize opportunities where Jacob can be present digitally or in person. And he has actually something he's doing tomorrow.
That's right. Yeah, another WFC policy meeting tomorrow at the DoubleTree at CTAC. And so Claude, Mary Marbles, president of chapter 28, and Debbie Haig, president of chapter 30, are going to be joining me for hosting a table for RPEC there. So going to be trying to recruit and yeah, just spread the information, get the visibility out there. Yeah, thanks for embellishing on that a little bit, Lori, and giving some more detail about upcoming events. Does anybody have any other comments or questions regarding member engagement?
Well, I'm curious, was chapter 2, was the executive board receptive to having somebody come to their chapter or their local meetings?
So we're not, that's what I talked to them about. And I offered that we could come, or our chapter presidents could come. And there was some interest around the table. This is a relationship that we have to continue to kind of strengthen. I also broached with the executive director / president the idea that perhaps, just like WFC, we might have an RPEC representative appointed by our board who would come to their executive board meetings and provide a report, just like Carol does for us with WFC. And so what was shared with me is, you know, we can revisit this at a later time. And so I will definitely keep up with them to see if they're open. And I said, at minimum, we're happy to supply a written report that you can provide. So, you know, we're going to have to take baby steps with them. And so, you know, they have a newer leader there, and we haven't had as much visibility with Council 2, but I appreciate that they're open to working with us. But we do have a different kind of working relationship with WFC.
Well, we used to be a part of WFC, so
Yeah, and we share a hallway with them.
yeah,
And we're working with them closely on legislative affairs, and it's just a whole different Council 2 is just, it's smaller in scope. They're rebuilding their team. They have a lot of good energy, lots of good questions, lots of interest in our legislative priorities. So I think that, I mean, I see a very bright future with them. We just need to kind of take baby steps, you know, think about, for, you know, it's like dating, right? We're just having coffee right now. And you know, they invited me to have dinner, and that was very nice, but they don't want me to meet their parents yet. And so it's gonna take a while, but we'll do this very slowly, and we're getting there.
And Catherine Watanabe out of our chapter comes out of Council 2 and I think she knows the director pretty well. So if you ever need somebody, you know, of the membership to help you out there, she's definitely somebody that can help.
That is so helpful to us, Debbie. Jacob, hopefully you had your pen poised.
Yeah, what was the name?
Catherine Watanabe. It's W-A-T, yeah.
UAT.
Yeah, W-A-T-N-A-B-E. Is that it, Claire? Watanabe.
Oh, I think I
Yeah,
recognize
there's
the
another
last
A in there, W-A-T-A-N-A-B-E.
Okay, perfect. I
So
will.
that is a great suggestion, Debbie.
Catherine with a Y.
Yes,
Catherine with a Y. Okay.
and a K.
And a K. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
No, we're good now.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's terrific.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Debbie.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to cover, if nobody has any other questions or comments about that, I'm going to cover the last slide before I'm going to hand it over to Lori. So, so last, just a mention for, you know, chapter elections are coming up. You know, make sure that your members are as informed as they can be about your elections, and you know, something to think about for the future. And this is just for the future of all chapters in regards to, you know, the upcoming elections every year, every 2 years, depending which chapter you are, is if you don't plan on sticking around in office, it's always good to be working with some of your members that, you know, are showing an interest in leadership and trying to help cultivate them to take the torch from you when the time comes. And I know not all of us are typically prepared to do that, or, you know, we don't necessarily have people that we've identified that we think, you know, want to step up and do that. But for the sake of continuity and, you know, chapters being able to stay standing, that's really what we have to do for them to function and to succeed moving forward into the future. Regarding elections, has anybody any challenges regarding anything about elections thus far? No. Okay. Yeah, that's all I really had. If anybody doesn't have anything else to say, I'm going to turn it over to Lori to cover the HCA listening sessions. All right. Thank you, guys. All right, Lori, all you.
Okay, I'll kind of go through these quickly. I know that as our leaders, all of you, I know, and you're active, so I'm not sharing anything that you don't already know. But we're finally at a place where we have a pilot listening session that's taking place next week. RPEC members are representing about half of the 12 participants. So I'm super delighted that we will be so well represented. The pilot is going to be used to test the model. We debrief with HCA next Friday, and then the listening sessions are rolling out starting on the 14th. I want you to know that we are going to need all of you to help at a chapter level. I think Alma Jean was the person who said that you appreciate stuff from the council office, but we want to customize it for our members. And this is one of those cases where we need all of our leaders to kind of lean in and to keep this visible. There will be lots of virtual listening sessions taking place between March and May, 2 a week, as a matter of fact, plus online forums. And so more detail you'll be receiving in our printed membership newsletter that should be hitting your homes anytime now. I also will be writing to this once again in the letter that you receive digitally from me every month. But this is coming up. Here's my special request. as you talk to our members, it would be important for us to know who plans to participate in the listening sessions. And if they could please let us know by sending it to our general email, that would be very helpful. There's reason for this. Some of our members have, and this was already brought up, some of our members have different technology capabilities and skills. And HCA is not going to provide the kind of support that our members need. And so I want us to be able to reach out to our members to see if they have any questions about the survey instrument they'll go over, to see if they understand what they need to do with Zoom. And so we plan to do some outreach to our members once we know that they are planning to participate. And Matt Groshong, who heads our healthcare work group, he had a great discussion yesterday with his members just about the survey instrument and some things that that he wanted to call out in the questions, which I think were really good. He went over some of the background materials. He's a great resource. And he's willing to talk with members as well. So it's just a way to make sure that our members are really well prepared for those discussions. This is our chance, it's our bite at the apple, so to speak, to be able to convey to HCA that they need to do a better job and how they work with retirees. I will say this, that HCA has not yet fully figured out how folks are going to RSVP for the listening sessions. Seems a little weird because we've been talking about this and meeting on the specifics since late July or since July. So they've had a lot of time to figure it out. And I hope that I've been pressing them to give me details so that our members can know. I am concerned about the coalition's collective ability to fill the available listening sessions on such a short timeline. So I will look to all of you to try to help to get the word out and to encourage your members who get their benefits from PEB to take part in these. They are going to be all held from 10 to 11:30. So the time doesn't change. And right now it's in the newsletter and it's in the e-blast I sent out for February. The meetings will start on the 14th and they're like every Tuesday and Thursday. So while I know that will impact some chapter meetings, there's going to be plenty of time for folks to sign up if they get their benefits from PEB, because these will be extending through the end of May and maybe even into early June if needed. Are there any questions that I can answer about this? Okay, Jacob, could you?
Oh, Debbie has a question, I think.
Go ahead, Debbie.
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask if would that be something that we might want to send out, like an email blast with like a a short paragraph if you get your benefits from PEB. Here's the listening sessions. You
mean from a chapter level or from a council level?
Chapter level.
You absolutely could. You absolutely could. And you could, many of you do a really wonderful job of basically, and this was shared earlier, just what you're saying, Debbie, you take some of the priorities and you put your own spin on it in your newsletters. That's helpful too. And then of course, the monthly letter that I sent out is attached. But I find that members tend to respond to their chapters often more than they do us. And so whatever you can do to help would be useful. The last thing I want to see is all this time that's been invested with HCA to not generate the kind of support for this that we have been clamoring for, because they're doing this because they're being forced to do it, but they're giving us an opportunity to share, and so we need to lean into that. So that's a great suggestion. Okay, should we go on to the next frame, Jacob?
Yeah, and just to mention this as well, with the email blasts, I know not every chapter is necessarily equipped to do that. So if you need some assistance, I'd be willing to help with that. Just reach out to me.
Okay, good.
Thanks, Jacob.
Problem. All right.
That was my
Okay. So what I wanted to share with you is that the board is embarking on a strategic planning process. A number of you who were on the call serve on the executive board. It's on the agenda for Monday. But I wanted to seize today as an opportunity to just share with you kind of the broad landscape of what's coming. We have been working with AFSCME. I've been working with them since November, our November executive board meeting. And we're following a best practice model that they will be leading with us. And that includes really seeking a lot of input from our members through different channels of communication to inform the board's work. So Jacob and I and Derek have worked on a survey instrument with AFSCME. It will be administered by mail with a postage paid response. And that goes to all members. And then their polling unit will do a scientific, statistically valid poll by phone. The reason that I'm bringing this up to you now is we don't know when AFSCME is going to go in the field with that poll. And I don't want our members hanging up on AFSCME when they call. We've written a script to say, hey, we're calling you because we're gathering information for a strategic plan for the Retired Public Employees Council. That's part of the script. But you'll notice that in what you read about this in the newsletter, and if you had a chance to skim the February monthly letter that went out digitally, it talked about this. So where you can help us with this is urge your members to fill out the printed survey. And if they're one of those lucky 300 or 400 people that are going to get a call from AFSCME, to know that it's not a prank or something, and to answer the questions. It will not be a long survey. We labored over it with AFSCME. It's going to take maybe 10 minutes of a person's time, but that is going to be an important data collection mechanism because it's statistically valid. And it's going to be balanced based on, our population and also based on our prospective areas of growth. The written survey, all of you have taken part in these, we want to hear from as many people as possible, but we don't control who finishes the survey. So we may have a certain population that we serve that's underrepresented, and we can't control that. So that's why there's multiple ways that AFSCME is drawing information. The last way is through another listening session. So it's modeled after the kind of listening sessions we're going to do with ACA, excuse me. And this will be facilitated by Susan Crumpton, who is the trainer out of AFSCME, who did our board training in November, along with AFSCME leadership, Carlos Lopez and Ben Hodap. And then as needed, council staff will be involved also. But this is going to be for all of our leaders, and it's going to be for our members at large. So we want a critical mass of people coming, and we'll do breakouts. It'll be done digitally. But I wanted you to put this on your agenda right now, because this will be our April leadership call, if you will. We won't have our traditional leadership call on April 21st. Instead, given your busy schedules, we're going to just have this meeting, and it will be for our RPEC leaders plus our members at large. And so again, this is something we're going to need help promoting and getting as many people to show up as possible. So I just wanted to kind of tease these things now with you, because you're going to be interfacing with your folks in a lot of different ways. A lot of you have busy agendas coming up because you're going to be doing elections. And so I hope you can kind of put this on your radar, kind of put it on the front burner. So anyway, that's what I wanted to share, so that you just were aware that this is coming down the pike. Are there any questions that I can answer? Alma
Jess?
Jean, did you have a question?
I have a comment. I have sat with Colleen McGinn from Chapter 3 at Bill Ziegler for years, calling members, and we called hundreds and hundreds. It was the WSFE calling, and sat in that location there in South Seattle all day long calling. So many telephone calls we tried to make, there was no response. No telephones, no means That's a lot of that, or, you know, just an awful lot of time for what we were actually able to access. And I just wanted to remind you of that. In our chapter meeting, chapter 28 this week, I inquired, because I was curious, how many members do not use email or have computer access? About a third of the people there responded.
Yeah,
So
thank you. Thank you for those comments. The main
concerned
survey is going to be written.
what you're
And
getting,
so, I'm sorry.
just concerned about what the numbers might be. I don't know what the goal is, but that is an issue.
Yeah, so the written survey is going to everyone. So all 12,000 members will get that, and it's postage paid return. That should capture folks who aren't as adept at email. The poll is being done by the polling unit of AFSCME nationally. And so they're very adept at this, and this is what they do 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They have, they're the ones who administer AFSCME Retiree Council's polls. And so they're very accustomed to leading these kinds of things. And this is their, you know, they use scientific polling in how they draw their samples. My understanding is they need to speak to between 300 and 400 of our members in order to have a statistically valid sample size. So that's on them. Okay. Thank God we're not paying for it. They're going to take care of it. And if they run into a problem, they know what to do. This is what they do as the day is long. And I want you to know I'm super delighted that we are being guided through best practice endeavors from our leaders at AFSCME and AFSCME Retiree Council. Their support has been invaluable, and I'm really excited about the work that we have and will continue to do with them. So it's been a great partnership. But I appreciate the comments. I have another meeting that I'm leading in 7 minutes. And so, so is there any other things that you want to cover real quick, Jacob, before we sign off? Because I know there's some folks on this call today who might join us for the one at 2.
I don't believe so. I don't have anything else for anybody.
Okay. Is there anything else that we need to share with one another? If you have other great ideas to pass on to Jacob, please reach out. Thank you for sharing the concerns around getting folks to meetings.
Yeah.
I know, Maurice and Jacob continue to wrestle with this as they are leading the membership, under Maurice's leadership of the membership committee. We'll figure this out together. And this issue is not unique to the chapters. And you need to know that in the surveys we just talked about, there's actually some questions that address member engagement. And so we hope that information will not only be useful for our board, but it also could be useful for our council office as we think about the ways that we work with our leaders and how we engage our members. So we see a lot of utility to the data that they're gathering. Okay, folks, well, we're going to see you in about 5 minutes in another link, but I hope if you don't join us, have a wonderful weekend and enjoy the sun while we have it, despite the freezing temperatures.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Bye-bye.